The sounds of rain wake you up briefly. Before you return to sleep, you think about your plans. Riding in the mud is difficult. Ripple will have a tough time, especially on the unpaved grounds. It may be a good day to take a break at an inn. Like most people, you wake in the middle of almost every night. Before your second sleep comes, you spend an hour or two taking care of your belongings, shell and soul. Some people spend this time with their friends, families, or lovers, but your routine is different. If you don't have to take care of essential tasks, I check on Ripple. It's a good time to brush it and make sure it has everything it needs. It's warm here, but the mouflon's skin allows your back to rest a bit. You wake up a couple of times during the night. The smell of the cooked stew fuels your hunger, and the staff returns to the room once every hour or so to stir the pot. You wake up early, but leave the building to check up on Ripple and give it water from the creek. The innkeeper is sitting near the door, from time to time carrying out another bowl with either stew or gruel. Theus is nowhere to be seen. I leave the square. You're wandering through the village. A woman and a young boy are sitting on a bench as she shows him how to weave a basket. A short-tempered hunter tries to explain to his parents that there are no bears where he's going. Through the open gate, you spot two brown rats observing you from behind a mushroom. They flee from your gaze into the tall grasses. I want to look around. What are you looking for or paying attention to? Mushrooms. Molds are covering the dead trees and the moist lumber. But as you look around, you realize that the hamlet could be quite a treat for some brave foragers. You don't fully trust your judgment in this matter, but most of the large mushrooms grown here resemble those eaten by you at various points in your life. Worms also feast on some of them, but they are still in a fair shape. I look for something else. Resources. I look for something else. Materials. Gate. There's a lot of timber outside the building. They were destroyed by time with no effort put into sustaining them with tar or oil. Now soggy and slowly consumed by the worms and fungi, they're beyond restoration. I leave the hamlet. Ripple is swishing its tail, trying to get rid of a couple of obnoxious flies. I enter the ruined building. The structure may be in bad shape, but remains a home for fungi, grass, and bugs. I step outside. You're squeezed between the hills and the forests. The only larger beast you spot is a single saurian basking on a boulder, lazily observing you from a safe distance. Your ears catch the howls coming from the north, long and loud, and as you keep an eye on the rock ledges, you almost miss the drastic shift in the landscape. The forest turns into a lake, and the few plants growing next to the road mostly bear fruit. The road is not as reliable here as it was in the hills. Parts of it are a bit muddy, and the puddles disturb your ride. Maybe the locals will maintain it before it gets swallowed by the lake. The deep, loud yells of howlers are piercing your ears, concealing any other sound in the area. They're sitting on branches and in the tall grasses, not really trying to hide. Their thick black and gold furs cover their entire shells, aside from the charcoal black faces with roundish flat noses and wide nostrils. The younger members of the pack are about the size of your mount's head, but the larger ones would be chest-high if it wasn't for the fact they walk on all fours. Their long tails are like an additional arm, helping them climb, hang from the branches, or hold food while they eat. They aren't particularly muscular, but when they form their pink lips into the shape of a cup to release their howls, their mouths are so wide you could fit your entire arm inside. As you listen to the shouts, you reach for your head. You feel a weird itch, but you can't scratch it. Keeping my distance, I take a look at the hide behind the boulder. The whitish rawhide covers the grass like a blanket, surrounded by paw prints. The howlers don't wait for you to approach. One of the larger ones jumps to the ground, leaning on its hands and challenging you with its gaze. It has rather blunt teeth. The lakeside is filled with the chirping of cicadas, and crickets, as well as the roaring of beasts from the northern hills. Farther down the road you see tall yellow grasses, interwoven with flowers and bumblebees, while the peaceful water shines just as much as the wings of dragonflies. This road is often travelled, and the clatter of hooves carries far. Thanks to the vast field of view, the creatures hiding in the meadows are unlikely to jump on an animal as large as Ripple. In the distance, you see a palisade and a large building set on the side of a crossroad. Once you get closer, you hear a conversation from behind the wall. Two men are arguing about if they really just heard a horse. Maybe they know some useful rumours. Ripple carries you toward the open gate on its own, welcoming an opportunity to rest by pushing out the air loudly through its nostrils. A nearby wooden pen won't offer much space for a horse, but should be enough for grazing and a nap. As you dismount, two men get up from the front stairs. Their clean-shaven faces reveal that they're in their early 20s. The first one is taller than you, broad-shouldered, and wears light brown pants and a darker jacket, both of them made of leather. With an inviting smile, he gets up and moves to open the enclosure. His steps are heavy and slow, but every movement is marked with care, ensuring he won't knock down anything or anyone. The second man looks as different from his colleague as the sun from the moon. He's unusually short and wears a heavy cloak made of black fur, so large it could cover his entire shell. He opens the door of the building, hides his hand, and peeks into the room. "Foggy!" His voice is shrill and unconcerned. "A messenger! Come!" I take off some of my bundles, let my horse rest. A hanging barrel sways in the wind, marking the place as an inn or a tavern. The building resembles a merchant's house from Hovlevan, whitewashed and with oiled, elegant beams. The fragile walls are high enough to avoid floods and snow, but you have no doubt that a troll, or even a pebbler, could easily break through them. The palisade is short, has hardly any support, and has no walkway for crossbowmen, hardly enough for even a makeshift hamlet. Yet it's the open harbour that makes you uneasy. Aside from the fish, any creature, aquatic or not, could just walk into the yard undisturbed. The path is covered with paw prints and claw marks. Better not to leave Ripple outside during the night. A black and white bird swoops into the water, then flaps its wings, takes off with a silver, twitching creature in its talons. The large man clears his throat. "And what have we here? Coming from afar, friend? Are there now horses and howlers? His voice is stentorian, close to a shout. You vaguely recognize his accent as one found at the city harbour. Quite far, kind soul. Ripple came with me from Hovlavan. He nods appreciatively. A weird beast, aye? A donkey that can kill a man. You notice he keeps quite a distance from it, and holds his hand close to his throwing club. Haven't seen one in a while. The roads here ain't that bad. They'll take you north and east with ease. You hear heavy footsteps. A woman shows up in the doorway and looks at you from the top of the stairs. She's even more towering and stout than her son, the man who just welcomed you, with a massive chest and a pear-shaped face with a prominent chin. Her movements are composed and confident. She may be older than 50, with a mixture of grey and dark blonde hair. She has only one arm, the left one, notably muscular and with a hand so large it could likely chop off Ripple's head with a single strike, or crush yours like a berry. Through the slit of her robe, made of creamy worn fur, you spot her trunk-like legs. She runs her eyes over your blade, armour, and mount. Her lips form into something of a smile, distorted by the scar that runs through her mouth. The tall guy looks a lot like her. The tall man spreads his arms, forming a chain between you and his mother. Meet Foggy, friend. Ma, the rider has come to us from Hovlavan. Just look at this horse. His powerful voice turns timid, and he keeps turning his head from left to right and back. Too bad we have no hay. It looks hungry. The woman looks at him with amusement, then glances at your palfrey. Ah, a cute monster you've brought, but not enough fat on it. If it ever breaks a leg, bring it here. We'll smoke it for winter. She vaguely stretches out her hand, her only hand. What brings you to Foggy Lake, love? Just stopping by. Her voice is hoarse, like that of a traveller who spent too many autumn nights in cold tents, yet carries a hint of motherly concern. I close the animal pen behind me and head towards the stairs. You won't find another shelter in this part of the Dragonwoods, especially not in creeks. She scratches her broad chin with sausage-like fingers. You drink? I make a single loud clap and rub my hands together. I wouldn't dare to insult your hospitality. Her brief, powerful laughter is enough to scare away the birds from above the lake. Your mount lets out a fearful snort. You have to visit creeks, dear. They will love you there. Come, share a story with me and a mug. Without waiting for your response, she walks inside. The tall man takes a deep breath. Go ahead. We'll take care of your horse, he encourages you with a gesture. And by that, he means we won't do anything with it, adds the man in black fur. Whenever his screechy words follow the deep voices of his companions, he sounds like a brat. We won't be feeding or washing beasts that aren't going in a stew, but we'll keep an eye on it. They find new spots to rest, the side of a boat and a stool near the palisade. I ask them if they plan to join us. The large man chuckles. We don't have any guards. We need to stay sharp. No drinking, no leaving valued possessions behind. He nods towards your horse. We'll feast in winter. when we get a break from this place. He thinks for a moment. No, what? We're planning a humble hunt, he says, for someone with a thinking soul. Come speak with us once you're done here. I nod and go upstairs. The narrow segmented window shutters let in a lot of light without letting the beasts inside. The air is humid, but carries not a hint of putridity. The heels of Foggy's boots make her steps thunder, even though the planks don't creak. Make yourself at home, she says without looking at you, heading to the trapdoor in the corner. I'll just grab a little something. Your ears catch the screeches of hunting birds and the wind that leaks in through the windows, but other than that, the room is quiet. I investigate the main hall. The room is crammed with stuff. The bear pelt on the ground would be a nice resting spot, but the place doesn't look like a real home. No chests, no cabinets for clothes, no toys or tools for simple crafts that would fill the time during rainy evenings. Living with so many windows in winter would be a struggle. One could clear this place in one morning and move all that's worth saving onto a single wagon. The only things of exceptional value are the cauldron, made of pricey steel, and the hanging head of an insect-like monster. Its mandibles don't move, the dim eyes seem intact, and its armoured head tells a long story of survival through scratches and cuts. I look where the ladder leads. You climb up the simple rope ladder and reach the attic. It smells like a haystack. The floor is covered with animal furs, bags, and clothes. There's a soul sitting in a corner, a bearded man in his 20s who has only the right hand, though unlike the tavern keeper, he has kept the rest of his arm. His sleepy eyes observe you without a word. After he greets you with a nod, he starts to put on his boots. I sit down at the table and wait for the keeper's return. You take a glance at the blood on the table, the scattered yellow feathers, and a bowl of guts and talons. You find yourself a clean stool. Foggy shows up soon, smiling, holding 2 cups in her hand, a bottle in her fingers, and a cloth under her shoulder. She puts everything on a stool and wipes the table clean. Forgive the mess, just a part of the job, she explains without a hint of apology. I'd rather dress birds in the yard, but the blood lures beasts. Sometimes the folks from creeks bring us meals, but we need to take care of ourselves. She throws the bloody cloth back in the bucket, making a splash, then sits down on a stool, making it look like it was made for a doll. She rests her elbow on the table and looks you in the eyes. Her voice is warm, yet intrusive. So, who am I dealing with? I introduce myself. The bottle removes its seal, seemingly by itself. The wax floats in the air briefly, then lands on the table gently. Without a word, she pours a thick liquid into the cups with her only hand, but doesn't offer you your drink just yet. I was hoping to find work. If nothing else, I can always carry a message for you. Her grin makes you think of a hungry wolf. To me, you sound more like a mercenary than a Roadwarden, but we speak in the same tongue. You'll find some work around here. She cracks her knuckles just by clenching her fist, then relaxes her hand and observes the fingers. I may have a small job for you, love. And the boys outside want to hunt. Ask them about it if you want to join them. Just be sure you have something to defend yourself with. She points at your chest. I see your jacket is plenty fine. It should be enough, but you can always fix it in Gale Rocks or in Howlers. She nods approvingly. But I haven't seen any shield by your saddle. Better visit Gale Rocks and buy yourself one. She leans back, relaxed and confident. Right now, go ahead and enjoy your drink. You raise the cup to your nose. You smell flowers, yeast and hops. The liquid is golden on the edges, but resembles red amber in the center. It's as thick as an herbal medicament, and you take a look at your companion, seeking a hint of what's expected of you. In some places, people gulp down their mead, but your vessel allows you to appreciate the aroma. The huge keeper smiles and takes a sip. You follow her lead, allowing the drink to pass your lips. It's warm, hiding none of its subtleties. Drinking mead is a never-ending conflict between holding the taste in your mouth and saving yourself from the tormenting sweetness of honey. Yet the flavors of flowers are just as present, too difficult to capture just yet. Foggy leans forward, with an elbow resting on the table. Well, for me it's a lazy day. At least the rain spares us, so nicely holding off till the evenings. What's the story behind this place? It can't be more than a few years old. It's our third summer under the roof of Foggy Lake, but the palisade is older. Used to be a camping spot for the bird catchers from creeks, but there are fish here that don't swim in our streams. When we were but newcomers in the north, these lands were hard to bend, but the beasts got used to us with time. A melancholy crawls into her eyes. She observes the mead in her cup. Every year or so we add something new. The rocks for a campfire, some stools, a fence, a firewood shed, a boat. At one point we brought the lumber from White Marshes and built a cabin, like the one at the Eastern Road. More folks started resting here, even traders from Gale Rocks and Old Pagos. Plenty fine spot for an inn, eh? Her smile is warm. I'm building my home from nothing, you could say, and not for the first time. How about you? Any of it sound tempting? My home is wherever I can find kind people. She chuckles. You can always find some folks who are somewhat kind some of the time, but all of them have their limits or bad days. Without a place to return to, you're missing out on souls and their stories. She looks you in the eyes with motherly concerns. Or who knows, maybe you're different. How do you stay safe from the beasts? You're completely open from the lake. Quick legs, love! Her brief, yet thunderous laughter makes you flinch. We don't leave any food outside, but our cauldron smells. Every now and then something scary shows up. We lock ourselves in here for days if we have to. Our windows help us keep an eye on the yard. Better that than leaving the hamlet to goblins. You mentioned that having no wall from the lakeside is quite a risk. She nods in agreement and takes another sip. We don't bring children and old folks around, but this part of the peninsula is not so bad, at least in sunlight. Not much food growing or running around unless you can live on fish and birds. And the folks of creeks are great hunters, the greatest around. But isn't there a harbor in the city as well? How do you keep the creatures away? They mostly stay in the water, waiting for trash or drunkards to fall off a bridge. Chillin'. One day we had such thing here during our first summer. 2 adventurers got drunk and went to watch the lake after dark. We'll hide if anything shows up, they were saying. In the morning, the water was red, and their rags were covering the rocks. What brought you north? You don't look like someone who spends their life cleaning tables. Once you burn enough dead friends and relatives, clean tables start to look plenty tempting. She leans forward and takes another look at her bottle, sealing it with an approving nod. My pa and ma were both big and strong. One time, they saw me sitting on this kid twisting his arm, so they started to teach me. Staff duels, running, lifting barrels and rocks. Thankfully, the army chieftain said I wasn't disciplined enough. She rubs the scars on her forehead. So I did a load of things. Escorted some merchants, joined a group of adventurers, hunted for bounties, guarded a village temple. The last memory makes her voice gloomy. Not all of these things make me proud of myself. She smells the mead in her cup, but doesn't take a sip. I moved here only after I lost my arm, when the folks were fleeing the invasion. I took my elan, a casket of dragons, and joined a more organized group. Arm or not, I still have a fierce punch. She lets out a pleased grunt. I was worth keeping around. Her voice can't hide that she's delighted to carry on with her tale. Now that the years are catching up with me, and even more so with my back, I need to build myself a decent shelter. I crave no adventures, but I'm happy to hear stories from other restless souls. In the meantime, I'll practice this little trick. She points at the cauldron in the middle of the room and starts to make circles with her finger. The ladle mimics the movement, mixing the stew for another minute or two. That's all so good for my back. Your name's Foggy, and this is Foggy Lake. Is the tavern named after you, or after the lake? The lake has no name. She moves her cup away and leans forward, resting her elbow on the table. Her voice is playful, warm. Yeah, I mean. But there will be stories about this place, believe me, about passing by the lake while getting to Foggy's. I may not be a dragon slayer or a holy woman, but one way or another, my soul will live on in my name tied to these walls. She looks at you in silence, then bursts into laughter. You could swear she makes the jars shake. I'm plenty fine with being vain. Not everything that's vain is wrong. She observes you in silence, then lets out a chuckle. Very true. Eating tidbits may be dumb, but fair shares keeps our souls stronger. Any interesting beasts you hunt for? Oh, I hunt for nothing, she smirks. Not since I last lost my arm. And the boys outside are not made for it either. They've no drive to fight, you see, and grew up to be wimps. They sometimes club down a hare, but we're all about foraging and bird tracks now. The folks in creeks do the real hunting, she adds after a pause. Runners, mouflons, rats, sometimes a buffalo or a saurian. We have no soil for fields, so game meat is all we have left. She stretches out, getting even taller. Do you hunt often? Sometimes I set up traps. I don't risk facing big game. That's hardly a hunt, is it? She leans forward, chuckling. Picking up a dead bird from a loop is not the same as pushing away a warm corpse that was just pinning you down to the ground. She looks towards the open window shutters. Not the same, but probably smarter. A friend of mine was a real huntress. For a year or so. I nod toward the spot where her right arm should be. Any story there? She leans back, moving her shoulders and chest up and down as if she's having a soundless chuckle. Not one I'm gonna share with a newcomer, dear. Stay alive until next autumn. I'll open a cask of cold cider and tell you quite a tale. It has treason, treasure, monsters, and dark spells. But I'm way too sober for it now. She grabs her cup. Her wink turns into an awkward blink. You seem to be into some expensive drinks. The pricey ones are gifts I received, or treasures I found when I was young. I also bought a few. I like to offer something unusual to the wealthier or more promising guests. She tilts her cups. I've dabbled with some recipes myself. I've plenty of brewing tools, so I can name maybe half of them. Still, from ales to hard drinks, I had some successes. So, you can move things with your thoughts? She chuckles. Why? Can't you? I smile. Now that's a mystery. She chuckles. Let's hope you won't need to use it on your journeys, or that winter will never come, or that wolves will cuddle with mouflons. What's going to happen next? Will you build a real wall? Why not? Then grow my connections in the villages, buy more hard drinks, build another shed, a cabin even, and hire a private warden for these roads, you know, for my guests. She sips from her cup, looking at you. But it's all in the distant future. We at Creeks need to take care of the eastern route, clear it for the traders. Without trade, all I have is the locals, and they don't even use dragon bones. But why do you care, dear? You planning to stay around? I'll see what the future brings. She nods, as we all will. I must say, love, I rarely meet folks with that many questions. She gives you a warm look. What hides beneath them? We all need friends, don't we? She rests her hand on her stomach. We do, but some of us need them more than others. I'd say it's better for me to have a peek into a Roadwarden's head. A good one could shake things up a fair bit. The bad ones, well, they die quickly. I have some things I'm willing to part with. And I may be willing to buy them, love. I don't need this, but that's a nice claw. She raises it to the beam of light. Oh, pebblers? Must have lost it in the woods. I put it maybe there. She points at a shelf with her chin. 3 dragons. More than there. Maybe later. I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. She looks at you for a longer moment, without the slightest movement. And why'd you think he's here? I'm not saying that I do, but maybe you know where I can find him? I misunderstood you. She shakes her head and leans on the table. I don't know his whereabouts. He didn't tell me a thing more than I needed to hear. When was the last time you saw Asterion? She glances at a window. Same as the others in the light days of spring. We were waiting for his return, me and all the villagers, and then moved on. I've no idea where he went. All of the villagers, you say? She turns towards you with the fierceness of a bear. That's what I said. Did he do any jobs for you? She presses her tongue against her cheek and lips. Well, I'm not sure. He was bringing me news or delivering my messages. Sold me some stuff, sometimes brought a thing or two. His life wasn't really that riveting. Just another mud guzzler sitting in the corner patching his clothes. What can you tell me about him? She rests her only hand across her stomach, which you identify as her version of crossing her arms. A customer and an errand runner. What's there to say? Your additional questions don't get many more answers. She brings up the man's looks and equipment without adding much to what you've already learnt from Tulia. He was paying with dragons, rarely bartered, she adds. That's what city folk do, seeking riches, then locking themselves in chamber, prisoners of their might. I frown. It's not really what I'm aiming for. We'll see, love. We'll see. Did he sell you anything unusual? She stares at you without blinking. Such as what? Something that hints to where he went? She frowns. Oh, tell you if I think of anything. We'll return to this later. Maybe, once our souls are too restless to stay quiet. What can you tell me about the peninsula? She nods. I know this and that. Which place? What can you tell me about Howlers? Well, there's a lot to say about Howler's Dell, dear. Her eyes dart around, and you have to press her before she says anything of note. It's in the middle of the Western Road, among the safer lands, and has a large forest garden. Its folks eat and dress well, and have plenty of guards, and the strong spells of their druids. She scratches her knee, measuring every word. Whatever you do, remember to laugh at the mayor's jokes. Her name's Theas. Don't get in her way. Her voice is as grim as her eyes are serious. You recall your memories of Theas, a thin, smiling woman who likes expensive dresses. Foggy could squash her in a blink of an eye. How about Creeks? Creeks is my home. It's younger than Elam by over a year. Maybe small, but I felt better with the folks there than I ever did at the capital. She takes a big breath. We used to live on wild game, fish, and forage goods, and after some years we chased the larger animals out the forest. Now our youths learn carpentry. They'll make barrels, planks, tools. If trade ever comes back here, we'll have things to sell. There used to be only struggle, now there's hope and laughter. We may be poor, but it's the last joyful place in the north. Her eyes get gloomy as she reaches for one of the bottles from a shelf. There were struggles. I'm among our oldest. Those who came here with me. She pauses, then puts the bottle away. But their children have a real home. How about White Marshes? It's an old village, placed among the bogs on the west. Not so far from here, but the road there leads around the woods, so it takes a good while. She rubs her chin. I'm sure you already know about the Awoken. I don't like what the folks there are doing, not one bit, but I can't blame them. They struggle, and they don't know how to protect their kids, their elders. Orantius, the priest, she cracks her shoulders. A quiet man, but preaches like a zealot. Always looks like he's on the verge of crying. She opens the door with a wave of her hand, letting in some fresh air. She looks at the lake. They used to trade in lumber, those from marshes, until Howler's Dell started selling their own trees for better prices. The trade to marshes died, and so came the hunger. She looks at you with an unclear grimace on her lips. You may judge them, but at least their preacher gave them hope, even if it's tied to black magic. What about Old Pagos? You'll do good visiting that place, dear. It may be one of the oldest villages in the north, but even if it's not, it's safe, with strong walls and safe roads. Their crops are weak, but for generations now they've been cutting stone and building for other tribes in exchange for supplies. Some time ago they tied themselves to the monks, and now they don't look kindly on those who don't follow the orders of truth. She pauses, twisting her lips to one side, choosing her words carefully. But there are plenty fine folks, true believers, something lost in the city, not ones to deal in slave trading and pillage. Heart of the forest. No soul uses it anymore. It used to tie the watchtower to the villages in the west. Forget about it. She waves her hand with resignation. The few hours it's going to save you are not worth the risk. After a few more questions, she gives up. Fine. It's the darkest road in the north, so find yourself a plenty fine weapon and armor, and don't travel there in late hours or with a weak shell. She straightens up and walks around the hearth, like a leader describing a plan to a team of adventurers. Stay as close to the road as you can. You may find parts that seem safe, but nothing about the woods is. Sooner or later, something flesh-chasing will show up. Don't get yourself killed for a couple of sour apples. The cairn in the middle of the road may seem safer, but there are some nasty beasts living in the grass. You won't return with a twisted ankle. She puts her hand on her side, pushing her chest out. Why would I know where the bandits are hiding? Better watch your words. Her scarred lips form a grimace of a smile. I'm looking for work. She grins. I somehow doubt you're here to forage for me, love. Not that I have any room for another soul. Let me think. She runs her eyes over the shelves and the trophies, but it's the rocks surrounding the fireplace that catch her attention. The folks at Old Pagos are weirdly quiet. They were supposed to drop 2 wagons of rocks at my place. Can you check on them? Just find out if they're fine. You mentioned the payment. Won't take much work from a rider. You can get there and back in less than a day. Just ride west of here until the road takes you south to the crossroads. Turn west again and you'll find the village. I'll give you, let's say, a dragon bone. You say that it's not much, but she waves it off. A Roadwarden should get familiar with all the villages anyway, right? Just do it when you have a chance. I'll have more coins for you once you prove you can be trusted with the simpler tasks. I bring news from Old Pagos. Not good. Listening to your tale, she rubs her forehead. Well, not what I was hoping to hear, love, but I'm glad you went there. Better warn the other settlements. Folks should know before they send their own messengers. It's going to be a rough few seasons for all of us. She pulls out a dragon bone from her pocket and tosses it in your direction. Here. Good job. She steps towards the ajar door and takes a look at the lake. Want me to do anything else? She scratches the stump of her missing arm. Her powerful voice carries a hint of a threat. I need a soul who can handle a delicate task, and I'm not sure it's you, dear. What do you have for sale? Now you're talking, she grins. Well, I could serve you some of my cooking. Not food rations, mind you. Need what we can save for the winter season. Let's say you give me a dragon, and in return I'll cook for you 4 times. You just need to ride up when you're hungry. And other than that, you won't take any wood or stone, are you? Seeing a shrug, she waves it off and heads towards the trapdoor. After a minute, she shows up with a sack that clangs after every step. I can sell you some scraps. She pulls out a couple of iron clasps, nails, and a broken steel blade. Value trash. We found them while foraging. We don't have a furnace in creeks, but you could sell these bits and pieces to someone else. She observes you for a moment, then shrugs. Let's, discuss the price? Let me take a look first. I am going to buy fresh meals. I'd like to eat. She stretches out her arm and grabs a bowl. Give me a moment. You sit down at a clean table. After a moment, the keeper brings you a baked cold pheasant and raw eggplant. Once you're done, Foggy packs the leftovers for you as a snack for the rest of the day and mentions that you've already paid for another 3 meals. Could I take a look at your brewing set? I'm a bit of an alchemist. She frowns, but gestures for you to follow her. Don't touch anything. I've no toys here. She gasps as she squeezes through the trapdoor. Downstairs, she has to lower her head to avoid the beams beneath the ceiling. The humid scent of over a dozen wooden barrels is free of putridity. Your eyes run over the trophies. Claws, bones, jaws, and tusks are gathered in piles, while the staffed heads of various creatures observe you with their fake eyes. Foggy lights a candle with the help of a tinderbox and leads you to a table in the furthest corner. The instruments made of glass, gold, and copper would allow you to brew even more advanced potions. Bottles, scales, knives, alembics, mortars, a crucible. The jars on a shelf contain simple but useful ingredients. I could put this table to good use, Foggy. Could you now? Her voice is playful, but her face is covered with shadows. You could also set the place on fire, or spill my stuff, or break this glass thingy. She waves at one of the alembics and heads back to the stairs. We'll see how trustworthy you are, dear. We'll see. She suddenly turns back and gives you a harsh look. Don't you think I'll give you my stuff for nothing? Ingredients are expensive and we're in the middle of nowhere. You brew, you pay, and if I don't like the way you walk around here, you pay more. The rule of the tavern. Time for me to go. I go outside. I could wash myself in the lake. You enter the bridge and move to its edge. Somewhere below you, you notice a glimmer. Hey, you! Step back! Run! Without even thinking, you leap towards the yard. A long, teeth-filled mouth breaks through the water surface, splashing it in every direction. It bites the empty place where you were just standing, while the front limbs, thick, scaled, and ending with claws as large as your fingers, land on the wood. Once the saurian's yellow eyes notice that you're outside of its reach, it nonchalantly slides into the lake. You hear laughter coming from the yard. The large forager, who's wearing leather, was running with help, but now stands with hands on his thighs, cackling without rest. The man in black fur, on the other hand, looks at you with worry. You see a hand kept beneath his cloak, as if he was reaching for something. What are you doing, eh? This lake isn't for outsiders. I gasp for air and thank them for the warning. I'll stay away, don't you worry. He just nods and gestures for his companion to cut it. They both move toward the gate. I approach the foragers. Once the man in black fur hears your steps, he nudges his companion and nods towards you. They put away the old noose traps they were trying to fix, proper for hares and small birds. The tall one spreads his arm, thundering his loud welcome. A Roadwarden, I guess we're gonna see each other a lot. I'm Elan, and this shorty here is Svi. The man in the black fur looks up, frowning. There's also the one-handed man you saw in the attic. Unlike the rest of the staff, he has an unkempt beard and worn clothes made of blue fabric, patched with scraps of flour sacks. He's looking down to examine a trap, but his shoulders are slumped, eyes absent. Elan doesn't introduce him. Josh, nice to meet you. Elan smiles. Were you at Pelt of the North yet, friend? He blushes. How's Dalit doing? Is that the one with yellow armor? She's well. Seems to keep the whole crew together. That's her. A lively color, aye. Yellow. He smiles, but you catch a hint of envy in his voice. Better say hi to her for us. Her boss was looking for hard drinks and healing potions. Wish I could have helped her. He glances at his companion, who's currently observing a column of ants running along the side of the palisade. They were offering good prices, and she was really good at dice and told us about so many monsters. Svi adjusts his black cloak. Our traps won't fix themselves. What brings you to us? Elan frowns at this interruption, but says nothing. I saw a lot of mushrooms at the ruined shelter in the west. A lot of bugs, too. You describe them, struggling with naming the shapes and colours, but the foragers decipher your attempts with ease. Elan looks at the clouds, nodding with a smile. Should still be warm enough to dry them, thanks. We'll get there soon. What's your plan? I could use some work. Svi nods, and Elan's voice gets even louder. Glad to hear that. There's hardly any fruits left around here, and even fewer mushrooms, so we're planning to do some bird catching. A hunt without killing. Maybe not today, but in 6 days, maybe a bit later. What do you say? How much do you pay? I mean, it may be a scary trip, but it won't take that long. Elan shrugs. Just show up here at noon or before it, and we'll be back in a few hours. You'll get 5 dragons, 2 if the bird dies. That's a good price for one afternoon, eh? Why would you need my help with birds? Don't you just let them walk into traps? Elan glances at the cords used for snares. These won't do. We want to catch a runner this big. He raises his muscular arm and stops it maybe a foot above his head. And bring it here alive. We want its meat for later. The man with one hand interrupts him. His voice is weak, but disdainful. Beasts ought to be dealt with, not tamed. Bonding with monsters brings only death. He has the accent of the city folk, same as yours. Will bring us... Oh. The man with one hand interrupts him. His voice is weak, but disdainful. Beasts ought to be dealt with, not tamed. Bonding with monsters brings only death. He has the accent of the city folk, same as yours. Will bring us full bellies in winter, squawks Svi. What are you going to do with your catch? We'll tether it to the palisade for a day or two, then take it to creeks. Our tribesfolk have enough space to look after it through autumn. Maybe it'll drop a few eggs. Even if not, it's fresh food. What's your plan exactly? Elan grabs a rope and shakes it in front of you. We'll catch its neck. Your part would be to keep it from running. Don't hurt it, just make it busy enough for us to surround it. Is there a problem with supplies in creeks? They exchange looks. Maybe. Maybe, admits Svi, but not big enough to make us pay you more. I feel like I could use better equipment. Well, you shouldn't need weapons for it, friend, but you may look for something worthwhile in Howler's Dale. Elan points west. Akakius is all about trade, not much for idle talk, but he sells things for all his folks. I can't leave my horse behind. Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. Elan waves a hand just like his mother. The idiot will take care of it. The one-handed man starts to object, but a harsh "Shut up!" from Svi makes him sigh. His shoulders sag. Elan goes on. He's a loony and would stumble over his own feet on a trip, but does what he needs when told to, and you know he won't steal it. He hates animals. This all sounds really dangerous. That's why we want you to do the rough part. That's why we want you to do the rough part, Svi smirks. We're just foragers. A Roadwarden knows how to fight, aye? At least it's on its own, without its block. Fine. I'll be back in 6 days or soon after that. Elan grins. Do so. We still need to prepare and you better do so as well. But don't make us wait for long. Let's not test the birds' patience. Just come one day before afternoon. I turn toward the one without a hand. Do you know Julia? The man gives you a surprised glance, but then looks down and crosses his arms, holding his hand under his shoulder. I'm a new man now. There's nothing that ties me to the army. You've crossed a great part of this land, greater than most. Have you seen anything unusual? He takes a deep breath. His voice is close to a whisper. It's fog in my soul. I was on the eastern road, hungry and sick, praying for the right to send its beasts on me and save me from the pains of living. I remember the touch of fur and the breath on my neck and the claws pinning me to the ground. I was waiting with my eyes closed. Then I woke up in the middle of the night, still feeling. I got back on my feet, walking until I reached the lights of this tavern, without so much as a bruise. Foggy may have no faith in her heart, but the right used her kindness to give me a second chance. Elam frowns at the man's words, and there's cautiousness in his voice. He may be crazy, but it's true he came here after midnight raving. Maybe the monsters don't like his scent. So you forgot everything. He hides his stump in the palm of his hand and curls up. Seen a dragon eating a tree, an ape that tore away the head of a monstrous cat, and a wolf without fur that was as quick as lightning. Now leave me alone, evil spirit. Let my shame rest. He's shaking. Let him be, aye? Svi grunts at you. Nothing wrong about a man trying to forget. Elan rubs his chin. A furless wolf, friend? I've heard about one. Our tribesfolk saw it in the heart of the woods. A nasty beast. Let's hope it won't find a mate for breeding. It charges at you like a runner and jumps right at your throat. He touches his neck, so even the hunters stay away from it. Too bad we've no crossbows. He raises his wooden club. Aye, better to avoid the deep woods without one. Do you often have travelers here? Elan's voice is like thunder. Nah, you may well be the last one this season. Sometimes a group of adventurers, who knows why, and southern traders in spring and autumn. Most of our visitors are from the villages, usually creeks and gale rocks. They leave goods at our place or just outside and bombard biters in their name with the others. I mean, rocks, timber, furs, and barreled fish can wait a few days. What can you tell me about the peninsula? Svi lets out a sigh. Not much to see here, aye? Trees, rocks, ponds. I've never been in Howlers, he starts, but then Elan chips in. I have a couple of times. Nice place, kind folks. Lots of grain. They have but one trader, Acacius. He pays poorly, but at least he doesn't waste one's time. Gets straight to the point, see? He thinks for a bit. And they're all so tall. Twice as tall as he is, who points at Svi, who frowns and squeaks back at him. Bullshit! You gossip for the next few minutes, but the things they share with you are of little use. They end up saying that you should talk with Foggy instead. She used to travel a lot and speaks with every visitor. I walk away. You're in the middle of the yard. Ripple is around, slowly moving, as far as its court allows it. You follow the road spread between the hills and lonely trees, until you reach a solid wooden bridge, not older than a generation. You ride uphill, but Ripple manages to keep up. The dark woods in the south are behind a gently humming creek. while the forest on your right was trimmed by the locals. It's a peaceful journey, at least for some time. After a few minutes, you spot a group of wolves feasting on a fallen furry beast, maybe a wisent. One of them looks towards you. We ride a little bit faster. The road fades into an old tunnel. There are no signs of mining, no signposts, no human voices. The ceiling is supported by wooden beams, but the light only reaches so far. The chilling wind mercilessly bends the few lonely trees, while the shrubs oppose the weather patiently. The side path leading west is somewhat maintained, and you find both boot prints and cart tracks. It leads higher into the mountains. The detour is not as smooth as the main road. A wagon could make it through, but even so, you have to squeeze between some narrow corridors, hoping no beast is going to jump at you from a ledge. You walk, leading your mount with an axe in your hand. In the middle of the road, after reaching one of the higher hills, you take a glance ahead. Even from here, you see the sun reflecting from the ocean, but there's also a pillar of smoke coming from the distant west. There may be a volcano somewhere behind the horizon, but you can't tell if it's part of the peninsula, or maybe a yet stranger land. Once you get to the other side of the mountain, you find the northern entrance to the tunnel, blocked by a large bronze gate, so wide and tall you're not sure if it's something you could open with your muscles alone. There's a keyhole as well, as large as your hand. Unlocking the tunnel would save me a lot of time. You get a good look at the village from a distant hill. It's torn between taming the crags and succumbing to their whims. The grey boulders are like the rotting teeth of a giant, sprinkled around by an ancient spirit. The carved cave mouths are covered with wooden doors. There are only a few windows, and you can only imagine how dark and cold the gouged-out rooms have to be. The buildings and walls, made of logs or stone blocks, must be much younger than the caves. The impressive whitewashed keep standing on top of the hill in the west could just as well have been built in the city. Smoke rises from both sides of the wild river. You see many busy souls as they go about moving tools, food, and timber over the bridge. Your arrival at the eastern gate causes some curious glances, but the only person who approaches you is a man who is sitting at a table discussing something with a few elders. He's carrying a crossbow on his back and a long rusty knife at his side, but he doesn't reach for them. It must be a guard. I dismount. The man has to be older than 40. He wears an elegant blue-green linen tunic, but no armour. His skin is yellowish, like seaweed seen through a sunbeam. His long grey hair is tied in a ponytail, and his beard is trimmed to half a finger of length. A few large cysts make him look sickly, but his powerful, truculent voice adds to him strength and confidence. "Cheers, stranger. You've reached Gale Rocks, you did." He observes your mount, then looks at the path behind you. "I see no caravan from here. Are they coming?" He suddenly meets your eyes, and his tone gets even harsher. "Or are you here to idle about?" I listen to the nearby conversations. You have to get used to some of the local words and phrases that you've only heard coming from the mouths of the oldest of city folk. The vast similarities to the tongue of Hovlevan only make these differences more distracting, like a gloss pulled into the core page of a codex. I'm a Roadwarden. I'm here to solve problems, not cause them. "Another Roadwarden? Are all them parents in the south too dumb to teach their kids how to keep their fingers in their own pots?" He shakes his head with exaggerated motions and looks at the elders at the table. A Roadwarden, see that? Trying to cut the conversation short, you lead Ripple inside, but you're stopped right away. Leave it by the walls until it's nightfall, right? We ain't cleaning our roads after any drifters, bards, or adventurers, he speaks with growing disgust. Don't worry, we'll keep an eye on it. You tether your horse to the stems of a shrub, and the man nods with approval and turns around. Can you tell me anything about the village? He stops in place, then glances at your boots. Right. We fish, we salt fish, we sell fish. Our brave ones trade barrels for whatever we can get at other villages, but... He shrugs. Not much else to it, you see. Life here is slow. Without another word, he returns to the group of elders, where he helps one of them remove bones from their meal. You go to... Maybe there are some locals looking for a match in other villages. While the vast majority of the locals see this place as their home, and even feel indebted to the families and neighbours for looking after them, Paulus seeks a different path. He isn't even 20, but trained to work on the beach, is strong, slim, and a bit loud. I can even hunt fish if that's the only work left, he admits when asked about his plans for the future. Just not here, not after all them neighbours turned a blind eye towards my harpy of a mother. He reveals the scars on his back, left by willow withies. You mention religion, and he shrugs without a second thought. I can do whatever, barring wicked spells. You make sure he needs necromancy and blood magic. Right. All I want is a companion for the mornings and evenings. A woman with a kind soul, and, if good winds allow us, to be the mother of our children. I'm ready to work for them till I faint. He flexes his muscles. I'd gauge my arm for that. Marina is a few years older, but much shorter, pale, and with dark circles under her eyes. While she hopes to find a wife or a husband, she won't leave the village. I've a 6-year-old. His father went into the fogs on a foraging trip. I'd love to have more kids, but my forebears have been living in this village for longer than anyone can tell, and I'd rather not make our blood too thick. You ask about what sort of trait she's looking for. Someone kind, loyal, serious, and diligent, no matter if they're a water carrier or an artisan. My own back is weak, it is, suffers after standing for long hours. I help with fish smoking, cleaning, foraging, whatever there is to do. When asked about her convictions, she looks at you as if the question is beyond absurd. I won't lie with a lad or a lass that is a stranger to right's teachings. Timo from Howler's Dell looks for a hard-working man who'd like to marry her according to the traditions of her ancestors, then either move in with her or take her to a new home. I tell Paulus what I've learnt about Timo from Howler's. He asks you a few additional questions, some of which are centered around Timo's face and figure and spoken with embarrassment, then flashes you a wide smile. Right, she sounds dreamy. If she's in, I'm in. Let me know what she thinks about me. I look for someone else. I'm looking for someone. Guard. The guard you met when you first arrived at the village is leaning against the wall, observing both the gates and your mount. Whenever Ripple snorts, the gatekeeper reaches for his axe. He sighs when he notices your gaze. Have you, heard about the plague that's fallen upon old Pagos? The plague? His voice is close to a shout, and a few people glance towards the two of you. The guard grows pale. Better take it to our head woman, Warden. We were planning to trade with them, we were. I walk away. An old man is running along the riverbank trying to stop an escaped hat with a stick. I'm looking for someone. Old man. I look for someone else. Head woman. "Our head woman is in the keep," says a young basket weaver with legs too short and thin for her to stand on. "But she's not very patient with strangers, she's not. Or with loud neighbours." You thank her with a nod and head to the hill on the western bank, walking past the big kitchen. The steep path leads through an open, unguarded gate. As you look around the yard, you notice a few pigeons running around, keenly observed by a pet griffin tied to a wooden beam. Some drying underwear hanging from a rope, a spiked flail leaning against the wall carelessly, and a knocked-over bucket lying in a puddle of water. The place may be messy, but it's not impaired in its function. Preparing it for defence wouldn't take longer than a few minutes, and judging by the wall walk of the bailey, it could stand an attack from a large squad of soldiers. The current state of the place makes you think of Hovleven, whose stronghold yards and temple walls are often surrounded by small peddlers, a few of which are even allowed to set up their stalls. As long as they don't hinder anyone else's tasks, they're allowed to pursue the scarce scraps of open space. I look at the keep. The bright walls stand out from the other structures in the village, and as far as you can tell, the current layer of whitewash is still fresh. There must be at least 3 floors inside, enough space to contain more than 100 people, though without much between them. There are arrow slits in the walls, and the roof is surrounded by a fence-like barrier, a perfect spot for boulder throwers and archers. The large entrance door is ajar, with a wrinkled man sitting on a pillow placed on the stairs. He's not wearing a gambeson, but the fine steel sickle sword at his side makes it clear he's not just a regular guard. He stops what he was doing, carving a figurine from a log, and stands up to greet you.
"Cheers, Roadwarden. Severina was told about your arrival. Follow me."
He may be old, but he's tall, with the long and thin arms of a sea folk, a neatly groomed beard, and his grey hair in a ponytail. As you follow him, you're hit by the strong scent of cloves. I climb up the stairs.